So I got this crazy, jealous ex-wife. She's very upset because I'm about to get remarried to a lady who actually deserves my attention. Well, that's not the point of this post or this story. What my ex did is going to make you guys think, what in the world is wrong with people? Let me tell you everything. So, it all started in my first year in college. I belonged to a good family and had a good life. My friends were nice and supportive, and I was in a relationship with a girl whom I'd liked for a year. Everything was going pretty smooth, and life was pretty amazing, but then I met her. My worst nightmare? Sarah. Sarah was a girl from a different department, and I had no interest in her at all, as I was already taken. But then Sarah became friends with my girlfriend, and slowly, my girlfriend started to pull away from me. She started to doubt me, fight with me. The more her friendship with Sarah grew stronger, our relationship got weaker. I had no idea Sarah was her friend in the first place. They always met behind my back. I had no idea back then that it was actually Sarah who was manipulating her. Sarah had approached her with a motive from the beginning. She was the one who was going to start up these problems between us, and started to manipulate her into thinking that I actually had no interest in her, and I was playing her. Well, but this was something none of us figured out at the moment, and I got to know about it years later. Let me explain. And I got to know the fact that Sarah was actually friends with my ex-girlfriend years later, and I've never paid attention to her. I knew nothing about her. She was completely a new face to me. So anyways, my breakup happened on my birthday when my girlfriend just gave no reason and started accusing me of cheating. I tried to explain myself and prove her wrong, but then she pulled out a ton of fake evidence she had. It was clear that she had already made up her mind, so that very day our relationship was over. After my breakup with my ex-girlfriend, I was very heartbroken, and that's when Sarah approached me. She acted as if she was worried about me and was sorry for what happened to me, but I had no idea that behind those words she was actually celebrating it. Initially, she became my friend and we occasionally would meet. Then we became good friends, and she gained my trust, and I started to take her word seriously. And considering her a sincere person, she slowly started to show her interest in me, and she was the one who confessed to liking me. But before even liking me, I had no idea that she had visited my parents with my ex-girlfriend as her friend, and was actually in contact with my parents, and they had started to like her a lot, and she had gained their trust too. So anyways, what happened was, the one day my dad came to me and suddenly proposed the idea that I marry Sarah. I was confused, obviously. He said he knows her, and he told me that he met her once with my ex and then at a nearby market, and she helped him carry groceries home. And then she was with me one day, so he figured that we were friends. I didn't think much of thinking that Sarah was probably with my ex because we're college mates and share some classes, so she might have known her for some project or whatever, and never thought that all these meetings with my parents were pre-planned by her. She was a complete weirdo and had all the information about my parents from where they lived to where they shop. She had intentionally approached my father and helped him to make a positive impression, and he fell for it. These things were known by me years later, and I was kept in the dark for years, having no idea about what kind of woman she actually was. So back then, I was confused and had no idea if I should marry her or not, but his insistence and then my mom's persuasion made me do it. Initially, I thought she was a really nice girl. She acted like she was very innocent and understanding person, so she supported me a lot, and slowly, I started to lean towards her and trusted her with every secret of everything. So all was going pretty well, and I started to feel like I finally met the right person. But I was proven wrong just a few months after that, because Sarah started to show her true colors. She would fight with me all the time, blame me for my previous relationship, and call me all kinds of names. Her behavior with my parents also changed drastically, and she would fight all the time with my mother and hurt her. One incident that I clearly remember is that I got to know that my mom came to visit me, and Sarah just woke up and was annoyed for some reason. She just picked up a plate and threw it on the floor, breaking it into pieces. My mom got scared and tried to soothe her, but then she starts yelling like some sort of maniac that I was a bad person, who did not deserve her at all. My mom tried to calm her down, but she pushed her back and my mom fell, breaking her wrist. My mom was taken to the hospital after that, and she never even apologized for her misconduct. Not just that, but even at family gatherings, she would always make a scene like that, just like at the wedding of my cousin's sister. She literally started to get angry at the waiters and created a bad fight, which resulted in a lot of chaos, so my family disliked her a lot. Not just my family, but even the neighbors stayed away from Sarah and called her a difficult person. She loved bothering others, and one day, my neighbor's kid stepped into our backyard and played with the flower beds I'd recently planted and destroyed them. I told Sarah to just let it go, but she was adamant to fight. So she just went to the neighbors and started to scream at them. Sarah cursed at the kid and the woman, and she started getting physical, and then her husband came to separate the two women. But things escalated when Sarah just slapped her across the face. She was fined for that as the neighbor called the police. And, as if that wasn't embarrassing enough, she started creating problems. Problems at my workplace. So what happened was that she had a problem with any woman who even breathed next to me. There was this coworker who just came over to my house once just to hand me some files, and Sarah just started to abuse her and threaten her to stay away. I literally had to apologize to my coworker for the bad behavior, so it wasn't that I only hated the woman, but I also wanted to get out of the marriage as fast as possible. Finally, I decided to bring up the matter with her. I told Sarah that I was no longer going to play this game with her and wanted to end this marriage. And just when I said this, she literally went feral. I remember her destroying literally everything in my place. She broke whatever came into her way, just like, I don't know, she let out the anger. She literally just damaged my clothing and threw away my things. But after her manic episode, she calmed down a bit. She came to me and started crying, begging, just to give her a second chance, and started ranting about how bad her parents are and that they left her too and she has nowhere to go. So I wasn't sure of my decision anymore and started to question it. So I decided to just try to give it a chance, and again, that was my biggest mistake. Things did not get better after that incident. Now her new idea was to get on my nerves by spending my money for buying useless things and torture me by arguing me for not giving her enough attention. I ignored it, and I had no energy to argue. Amidst all this drama, there was a new woman. Started working at our office. Her name's Leah. At first we were just co-workers, but then we became friends, and slowly as the time passed, I have no problem with my wife. But after the incident with my other co-worker, I decided to just keep my friendship a secret. Leah was completely different from Sarah, and she was very calm and a sweet person. So eventually I started to like her and got interested, but I was still not ready to just let go of my marriage. But that's when Sarah did something which proved like a last blow to our already shattered relationship and completely broke it. So what happened was that one day, I came back from work and went to the bathroom to get changed into something comfortable. I was busy washing my face when I noticed something in the trash can. It was a pregnancy strip. I decided to ask Sarah about it, and that's when all hell broke loose. I questioned her about it, and she just confessed that she's actually getting to know that she's pregnant. But she had no interest in having the baby at the moment, so she just got rid of it without telling me or anyone about it, and this was the last straw for me. It was something important, and she did not even consider telling me about it, so I told her that I could not live with such a person. I want a divorce, and we're done. Sarah tried to persuade me again, but I was done with her, so clearly told her that no matter what, we cannot go back after this. She eventually agreed and was able to mutually come to a decision to end our marriage, and I decided to take some time alone. Leah was single at the moment and had gotten out of an abusive relationship, and when she just wasn't ready to date yet. But we did not even realize when my feelings got stronger, and we just fell for each other. At first we started dating casually, and things weren't that serious. We were starting to take it slow and give it a bit of time before getting anything serious, so what happened was that once Leah was at my house and we were working together on a project, and my mother came to see me unannounced. She immediately started to like Leah because of her polite and sweet nature, and after that meeting, my mother was the one who pushed me to, take things serious with her. And I decided to just tell her everything and let her decide what she wanted to do. Surprisingly, Leah wanted to marry me. She told me how she was actually looking for something serious and she was the only child of her family and her parents actually wanted her to settle down and she thinks that we're a perfect match. So, just about 2 months after that, we got engaged. My relationship with Leah was completely opposite to what I had with Sarah. She was very understanding and we hardly ever argued. Things were going great and I knew she was the woman I would definitely marry. That's when my ex-wife visited me. Sarah came to my house and told me that she had some stuff to get back. I didn't want to let her in the home, but I decided to just go through with it and let her in. Then she saw Leah, and I could tell that, she was very shocked to see her in my house with me. Sarah questioned my relationship, and I had nothing to hide. I told her that she's my girlfriend, and we're actually engaged. Sarah stood there shocked for some time, but then she walked upstairs, got her stuff from the old room, and left without saying anything else. So I thought that she would just leave me alone, right? No problem, right? Oh boy. But I was proven wrong later on, and got to know what kind of dangerous person she actually was. Update number 1. So after all that happened, it's been a few days later, and I was sitting with Leah enjoying a coffee when I got a call from my ex-classmate telling me of a class reunion and inviting me and my girlfriend over as everybody was allowed to bring their partners. I initially had planned not to go, but then Leah was excited and pushed me to agree, so eventually I agreed. We went together, and there were a lot of my friends who were there with their partners, so I was having a great time. Everything was going well, and that was until Sarah walked in. My mood immediately soured seeing her. She was the one who noticed me first, and what I expected was that she would keep her distance, but then she just walked straight to my table and sat right in front of us. Leah, visibly tense seeing her, but kept quiet. I decided not to pay attention to her and just enjoy my time, but of course it wasn't going to happen. A few minutes later, I got up to go to the restroom, and when I was coming back, Sarah just came in front of me and I asked her what she wanted, and she said she wanted to tell me something, but I just refused to hear the words at all and walked away. I could tell she looked nervous and that would confuse me, but I decided not to talk to her at all and create a scene. I was still in my thoughts when I saw the reason that made her nervous, and that was my ex-girlfriend from college. She just walked towards me and started telling me about the bad things Sarah did to her and told me how big of a liar she is and how she manipulated her for her own gain and lied to her about me. We were still in the middle of talking when suddenly Sarah came and started yelling at her that she was lying and accusing her of stuff. I wanted to tell the girl that I already knew what kind of person she was, but before I could intervene, Sarah slapped her. And that's when a fight broke out in the room and the two women started to hit each other. Some people came forward and separated the two. Leah was shocked by the scene, and I was just standing there with a dumbfounded look upon my face. Rather than staying there and seeing what the actual fight was about, I just held Leah's hand and walked away, leaving the party. Update number 2. Hey guys, after that day, I received a few calls from Sarah. I just blocked her number and thought now that the crazy woman would stay away, but I was proven wrong, so before that the weirdest thing happened. Things were going great, actually. Me and Leah were doing great, and one day, our parents met up and we had a family dinner with them, and we decided to finalize our wedding. We planned to get married a month later as we had already planned out everything and there wasn't much to do. So everybody was pretty busy with the preparations, and amidst it, Leah's family dog got sick. Her parents sent it to our house as she was a very good veterinarian clinic near our home, and I offered to take care of the dog. Honestly, it was fun having an adorable little pet at home, and Leah was very happy. Living with us, she loved it. One day, I came home and saw somebody moving into the next house, and I decided to help them with a few things. But what I saw... when I saw who it was, it made me speechless. It was none other than Sarah! Just when she noticed me and started a conversation, I walked away. When I got home, I had no idea if I should tell Leah about it or not, so I just let it go in the end. I didn't say anything about it, but 2 days later, Sarah came to our house to give me some food that she made, and so Leah got to know that she's a neighbor. We knew it was a strange thing, and she was disturbed by this bizarre situation. But again, she did not mind it and did not talk about it. We just decided to avoid her. We continued to stay busy with our life and paid no attention to her. I was at my office one day when I get a call from Leah, telling me that she could not find her dog. She sounded extremely panicked and distressed, so I just immediately came home and we started looking for the dog together. For 3 days, we could not find the dog, and Leah was extremely upset with the situation, but there was nothing we could do. We just made a report to the police, but there wasn't much progress with it. It was a week later that I noticed that I always see Sarah. Whenever I come home, or whenever I would be leaving my house, or even if I would go to the market, she would coincidentally be there. So I realized that something was up. I didn't want to believe it, but it seemed like she was stalking me, and to confirm my suspicions, I decided to install a CCTV camera outside my home. I decided to check its recording 3 days later and see if there's any suspicious activity, and that's when I found something oh so disturbing. Update number 3. So, when I saw the recordings, I saw that Sarah would come outside your house and would wait for hours and then intentionally show up in front of me and act like it was a coincidence. I also saw her buying things that are used by dogs. I went to her house and tried to peek inside her house, and that's when I heard a dog barking. It was a very familiar noise, and I was now sure it was our dog, so I decided to call the cops and ask for a search of her premises. I provided them with the CCTV footage and told them about her suspicious activity, and she's been doing a lot recently. I filed a proper complaint, and the police informed me that they would investigate with a search warrant. Well, the next day, cops came with a said search warrant and rang her doorbell. We waited for a few minutes before the door was opened by a woman, but I was confused seeing her, so she introduced herself as her friend and told Sarah had to go out for groceries. The cops asked her to inform her while they started searching the house. We looked through every room but found nothing, but I was adamantly insisting that I heard the dog, so it had to be somewhere in the house. It was then that we heard a faint bark from a storeroom. We managed to push away some old boxes, and that's when we found my dog, locked up in a room. I was so shocked by the whole situation and wanted her to get arrested as fast as possible. After the dog was found, police waited for her to come back, and then her friend told the cops that Sarah had immediately cut the call when she informed her about the cops. And that's when we got to know that actually fled because she knew she was going to get caught. Well, police reassured me that they would find her ASAP and would also make sure that she would receive punishment for her doings. So I had to let go of the matter and focus on my wedding as there's only a few days left. Unfortunately, she cannot be found and my wedding day arrived. She was still free after all, and I had never imagined that she would actually show up at my wedding. So everything was going well. My dream day arrived and everybody was happy for me and Leah. There was a lot of celebrations going on. We were done with the wedding vows and now the cake cutting was going to be done. Everybody was cheering for us and the waiters brought the cake. Me and Leah had no idea that there was something going on and the cake wasn't normal. Our friend noticed it and took the cake before we could eat. She told us that, thinks that the cake smelled very bad. We were confused and decided to ask the hotel management team about the cake, and that's when somebody pointed out that it wasn't the cake that they made and it's been replaced. There was a strange thing mixed in the cake and they took it away to get checked and later found out it was some sort of poison. We were shocked and chaos erupted in the wedding hall. We were still figuring out what was happening. Hotel staff called the cops and just 20 minutes later they came along with a woman with them. All the color drained from my face, realizing that it was none other than Sarah. The staff of the hotel explained that after all, a strange woman was found in the kitchen and saw her decorating the cake, so they assumed she was just helping it, having no idea she wasn't a staff and was actually mixing a poison in it. So when we realized it was poisoned, she was trying to run away. For the first time in my life, I saw Leah so angry that she walked towards Sarah and hit her right across the face, making everyone gasp in shock. Before Leah could become angrier, I held her hand and police took her away. Update number 4. Hey guys, so after the incident, we filed a complaint against Sarah for attempted murder, and she was already wanted by the police for kidnapping our dog. The court trial was going to happen just a few weeks, and we were all present. We were sure that there's no way that she could get away with whatever she did, and she was definitely going to get punished for her evil deeds. So what happened was, there we were, in the courtroom, and her lawyer started her statement in her defense and started to accuse me of being abusive and saying that Sarah only did it for her own protection, and she was also disturbed and did it because of anger. Her claims were so ridiculous. I knew that she had no proof to prove it, so even before I had to prove my own innocence, my ex-girlfriend showed up. And she was the one who gave her statement in my defense and called Sarah an evil manipulator, who has also harmed her in the past. Not only her, but so many of my old neighbors also testified against her and called her a bad woman, and told how she was always troubling everybody and had a fight with them too. When everything went against her, she found another way to get out of it with everything. So then she pulled another trick, and that was a fake medical record, stating that she was actually mentally unstable and that she was not in her right mind, and she did all of that because of it. Sarah started behaving strangely, acting like a lunatic just to get away with everything, but again, she could not deceive anyone, as the hospital was investigated too and proved that there was actually a friend of hers that made it for her. So the initial punishment of sending Sarah to a mental asylum was taken back, and now Sarah has been charged for not only kidnapping of murder, but also fabricating evidence and trying to deceive the law. Everything was really serious, and there was no way that she was going to get some light sentence. So the court finally gave their orders, and she was not only sentenced, but also fined heavily, and she was given a restraining order in the end. If she even gets out of jail, she could not go anywhere near us. After she was convicted, we were finally able to breathe. Leah and I even changed our neighborhood and moved to a better place. I got a new job and things are going really well for us. Leah and I are living the life, which was perfect for us, and I had a perfect partner, whereas Sarah got to taste her own medicine and her hatred, and it ruined her life. Things are even better for me when I made new friends, and we finally had a good job too. My life was filled with happiness, while Sarah was somewhere in prison, spending a miserable life rotting. Whatever trauma my ex-wife gave me was a very hard one to deal with, but in the end, I got rid of her toxic stuff, and I was able to get a better life. I honestly did not expect this to turn the way it did. I mean, to the point of poisoning the wedding cake, that's attempted murder. And we know what happened at the end of the story, but also we cannot forget about OP's ex-wife kidnapping their dog. I mean, how ridiculous does it get for one toxic person to just keep leveling up to these insanity stunts? Well, we know it landed her behind bars, but I do want to know your thoughts, guys. So go ahead, drop your opinions down in the comment section down below. I want to know, do you think she deserved everything she got? In my opinion, of course. She tried to murder someone. Well, I guess you could say multiple people since she poisoned the whole cake. Guys, let me know your thoughts. My name's Mr. Reddito, and I narrate stories every day, which is related to today's story. It could be wedding fiascos, sister-in-law problems, cheating stories, mother-in-law disputes, even HOA disagreements. There's some very interesting stories out there. So make sure you hit that subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and just remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.